Hello everyone, welcome to Plant Versus. I hope all of you are doing very well and enjoying your gardening journey. In today's video, I'll be talking about one of my absolute favorite flowering vines in my garden, the sweet Autumn Clematis, also known as the Buddha Jui. And honestly, this is one plant that truly delivers everything a garden lover could ever ask for: heavy flowering, beautiful visual impact, and an incredibly strong fragrance that can completely transform the atmosphere of a garden. In this detailed video, I'll be covering everything you need to know about the sweet Autumn Clematis, including its flowering habit, fragrance, growth speed, climbing style, sunlight requirements, watering needs, soil mix, fertilizer, pruning, support structures, and some very important beginner tips that many people often overlook while growing climbing vines. I'll also be sharing some of my own personal experiences with this plant, why it has become one of my favorite flowering climbers, and why I think this is one of the best vines you can grow if you want both heavy flowering and a strong fragrance together in the same plant. So without wasting any more time, let's begin. The sweet Autumn Clematis is a flowering climbing vine that is especially loved for two things: its massive blooming ability and its beautiful fragrance. Its scientific name is Clematis terniflora, and it belongs to the Clematis family, which includes many ornamental flowering climbers around the world. But among different Clematis varieties, this one stands out because of how heavily it flowers and how noticeable its fragrance is. The flowers are usually small, white, star-shaped, but during peak blooming season, the vine becomes so full of flowers that even the leaves are barely even visible underneath. And honestly, that creates one of the most beautiful floral displays you can ever have in a garden. This is not one of those vines that gives scattered blooms occasionally. No, when this plant flowers, it blooms heavily. One of the biggest reasons this has become one of my favorite flowering vine is because it creates both a visual and sensory experience in the garden. Some plants may look beautiful but have very little to no fragrance. Other fragrant plants may not create such dramatic visual impact. But sweet Autumn Clematis combines both things together beautifully. It's like the best of the both worlds. During growing season, the entire vine gets covered in blooms and creates this soft white floral cloud effect that looks incredibly elegant and dreamy. At the same time, the fragrance spreads beautifully across the surrounding area. The scent is sweet, calming, floral, and very jasmine-like. And this is honestly one of those rare flowering vines with a fragrance so strong enough to fill a large garden. In my personal experience, if I had to rate the fragrance, I would honestly give it a solid 9 out of 10. Even though it may not be quite as intense as the night blooming jasmine, but surprisingly it comes very close to that range, which is honestly very impressive for a flowering vine. And the best part is, the fragrance lingers in the garden for hours, especially during the evening and night time. Now let's talk about the flowering performance, because this is one of the strongest qualities of this plant. One thing I really appreciate about the sweet Autumn Clematis is that it is very dependable. You can depend on it for flowering. In my experience, if you want heavy flowering along with intense fragrance, this plant truly delivers. In my experience, it starts blooming very quickly after planting. Unlike many other flowering vines that spend 1 or 2 seasons only establishing the roots before flowering properly, This one can begin blooming surprisingly early. That's something I personally love about this plant because you don't have to wait endlessly just to enjoy the flowers. And once the blooming season starts, the flowering lasts quite a long time compared to many other vines. So visually, the plant remains attractive for an extended period of time. Now let's talk specifically about the fragrance, because honestly, that's one of the biggest highlights of this plant. The scent is very similar to jasmine, sweet, rich, floral, and extremely calming. But what makes this plant so special is the strength of the fragrance. This is not a mildly scented flowering vine that you would notice if you stand close to the flowers. The fragrance actually travels across the garden, especially during the warm evenings. The entire surrounding atmosphere changes once the plant is in full bloom. And this is why I say this plant helps create a sensory garden experience. This is not just visually beautiful, it changes the feeling of the space around it. Now, this next part is extremely important and something many beginners often overlook while growing vines. Before adding any climbing plants to your garden, you should always research and understand its climbing style. The climbing style is extremely important part that you need to know about any vines before considering adding it to your garden. Different vines climb in different ways. Some use aerial roots, some twist their stems around supports, some need manual tying and training, but clematis climbs differently. This plant, instead of twining around thick stems or thick supports, this vine actually climbs by wrapping its leaves petioles, which are the small stalks connecting to the leaves to the stem, around thin structures. Now, why I keep saying thin structures, this detail is extremely important to understand. Because of this climbing method, the kind of support you provide matters a lot. This plant prefers thin wires, strings, mesh, nets, or thin metal supports. If your support structure is too thick, the leaf stalks can't curl around it properly and the plant struggles to climb efficiently. So, if someone says their clematis is not climbing properly, many times the real issue is actually the support structure itself. And honestly, this is why I always encourage people to research the climbing behavior of a vine before adding it to their garden. This makes a huge difference in long-term success. In terms of growth speed, I would describe this vine as a moderate grower. This is not an aggressively invasive climber that suddenly takes over everything. But at the same time, it's definitely not a slow growing vine either. Personally, I think this moderate growth habit actually makes it perfect for home gardens because it remains manageable while still giving excellent coverage and flowering. You can train it beautifully over arches, trellises, balcony railings, fences, gates, or pergolas without it becoming too difficult to maintain. Now let's talk about the sunlight because proper lighting always plays a huge role in flowering. Clematis prefers bright light and performs best with around 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight daily. Generally, more sunlight leads to heavy flowering. Morning sunlight works wonderfully, and in tropical climates, slight afternoon protection during extreme summer heat can sometimes help reduce its stress. One interesting thing about clematis plant is that they often prefer cool roots and sunny upper growths. So adding mulch around the base or planting smaller companion plants nearby can help the root stay cooler. When it comes to watering, this plant actually prefers consistently moist but well-drained soil. It doesn't enjoy staying completely dry for long periods, especially during active growth and flowering. At the same time, waterlogged soil can also cause root problems. So the best approach is to water deeply and then allow the top layer of the soil to dry slightly before watering again. And during hot tropical summers, watering frequency may naturally increase depending on the climate and pot size. For soil, Clematis prefers rich but well-draining soil. You can prepare this soil by using a simple mix of garden soil, compost, coco peat, and sand or perlite. And since this plant flowers heavily, regular feeding during the growing season can really improve the blooming performance. You can use compost, vermicompost, or any balanced flowering fertilizers every few weeks during active growth. However, avoid excessive nitrogen fertilizer because too much vegetative growth can reduce flowering. Pruning is another important part of maintaining this vine properly. Light pruning helps improve branching, airflow, and flowering. After the flowering season ends, trimming overgrown or tangled sections help keep the plant neat and manageable. And because this vine can become fairly dense over time, occasional pruning also helps maintain its face and encourages healthy new growth. Personally, I think this vine looks beautiful when allowed to climb naturally over structures where the flowers can cascade down beautifully. Arches, pergolas, fences, balcony railings, gates, and garden entryways all look stunning when covered in blooming clematis flowers. And because the fragrance is such a major feature of this plant, planting it near seating areas, balconies, or even relaxation spaces makes the experience even more enjoyable. So overall, sweet Autumn Clematis is honestly one of the most rewarding flowering vines you can grow if you want both beauty and fragrance together. It gives you heavy blooming, long flowering duration, a strong jasmine-like scent, and a visually stunning floral display that completely transforms the atmosphere of a garden. And for me personally, this plant truly deserves the popularity. If you love flowering vines, fragrant flowers, sensory gardens, and elegant flowering vines, then this is definitely a plant worth adding to your collection. Well, that's all in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video informative and learned something new today, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to like and share this video. This truly motivates me to continue making more such detailed plant video for you. And let me know in the comments if you already grow clematis in your garden or if you are planning to add on soon. I'll see you in the next garden video. Thank you.